They do.
Great.
Trey, you want to get us going?
Yeah, Coach, what did you think of the first couple days of practice and specifically the quarterback competition?
Great energy the first 2 days of practice, which is pretty common. You know, I don't care where you're at. Guys come out and they're fired up day one. They're fired up day two. Excited to be back on the field. Excited that it's season time and not spring ball or summer workouts or any of that stuff. Key part of that is to make sure that that energy stays come practice 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, whatever we get to there, okay? Quarterbacks, it's going to be a battle throughout. 3 of us had to sit down the other day and talked about exactly what needs to happen, exactly what's going to happen, exactly what needs to stop happening for that person to get the spot. They were made very aware that in a couple weeks, a real grown-up conversation is going to happen, and one of them is going to get the nod, and one of them is going to become the backup, and the expectations are that they go to work every day like they always have, okay? So the answer is going to be the same. You know, they're both playing good ball. They both are doing what we asked them to do, and they have cut down on doing what we've asked them to stop doing. And that's what we need. We need the guy to win the spot. We need the guy that we put on the field. We need him to win the spot. We don't want the guy we put on the field because the other guy lost the spot, if that makes any sense. And right now, those guys are going at it. They're making each other better. Are they perfect? No. Okay? They could be 3, 4, 5-year starters. They're not going to be perfect. Okay? But the mistakes they're making are coachable mistakes and mistakes that we need to have them make in practice to make them better players. Okay, they both have their individual things I've talked about, but both of them that we overly talked about in order to get to position is how do you handle adversity. So what happens after that interception? What happens after you just blatantly miss a read? What happens after you blatantly just miss a throw? Okay, how do you bounce back from that? Okay, when I'm in your ear on C2P, purposely trying to get them flustered. I don't do that in the game, but I'll do that in practice, okay? Purposely trying to get them flustered. When Coach Silverfield's yelling, trying to get them flustered, how do they respond to that, okay? So that's something we need to see from them. Do they respond positively to the negative adversity that they're going through, okay? And 2, can they play clean? Ultimately, that's what it's going to come down to, okay? You'd love to say you have a quarterback that's going to go out there and win the game for you, okay? But no matter what, you need to have a quarterback go out there and play clean and not lose a game. And that's what we need this quarterback to do this year, is to keep us clean, keep the ball in our hands, keep us moving, take the UARs, take the checkdowns, take what the defense gives us, and put us in a position to win a game. And ultimately, that's what's going to come down who gets a nod. A couple weeks from now, we make that decision.
This is obviously more a developmental year for Hank Hendricks, but I was wondering what you thought about him, his potential.
Yeah, you know what? Hank has an unbelievable skill set, unbelievable arm talent, coaches kids, so he, knows the game inside out. You can talk to him like a 10-year coaching vet, albeit he might have just turned 17, but he's 17 years old. You got to keep remembering that, because real life, he really should be preparing for his final year of high school. Okay, the thing I've been most impressed about Hank is he's just so cool. He's so poised, almost to the point where he's like bored out there, which is a positive thing, But you're telling me you're putting a senior year, a kid who should be going into a senior year of high school, putting him out there on an SEC practice field, and really not a big deal to him. That's been, to me, the most impressive thing with him. So I think the future's overly bright for him, down the road, I expect his name to be entered into some competition and putting some pressure on people.
So the coach to player, you guys can rig it up in any number of quarterbacks' helmets, or
during practice? Yes.
Yeah.
All of them have it in practice, or they could have it in practice. They take out two helmets per practice, one that has a C2P and one that doesn't. Game day, you're only allowed to have one C2P on the field, but in practice, right now, both AJ and KJ have a C2P in their helmets. The other guys right now do not, because they go to the other field to develop. And the last thing they need is me talking in their ear while they're running a different play.
Hearing the same thing, obviously.
Everyone hears the same thing, yeah. Everyone hears the same thing.
I'll ask you about the run game and the O-line, just where you feel like you made strides in spring, and what do you have to get better for the run game to be something you can lean on in the O-line?
Yeah, I'm going to give you the coach's answer, man. Okay, run game's going to become better when the pass game becomes better. Okay, run game's going to become better when we can prove that you can't put an extra hat in the box. Okay, that our receivers can win one-on-one battles. That teams can't go into a game plan saying we're going to play man-free coverage, put a seventh guy in the box, and continue doing that until you prove that you can throw the ball on us. Okay, run game's going to get better when the quarterback can join the run game and add the extra gap to the run game. Okay. Now, as far as the offensive line, I'm excited about those guys. All right. We got 5 guys right now that you know, I hate the word starter, especially when there's X amount of practices left until we actually do step on the field. But we got 5 guys that roll out there with the ones. Okay. Cash is doing a tremendous job of pushing the interior guys. Okay. Adam Hawks is doing a tremendous job of pushing the tackles. Josiah's growing up day by day, okay? And the best thing for Josiah is he gets to go against Quincy and gets to go against Steven and gets to go against those guys every day, you know? But those guys are pushing those guys for playing time, number one, and obviously keeping them on their toes to make sure they're playing good ball. Brooks Edmondson's another guy that's doing a pretty good job for us in the offensive line. So the depth there is good. Coach Myers, Coach Johnson do a good job of moving those guys all around. So they're playing left guard, left tackle, right guard. We got a couple guys that can go in there and snap, you know, to keep guys so that no matter what the situation is, we can put the best 5 guys on the field. Okay, so really, when you talk about what needs to happen for the run game to become better, we just got to continue to come together as an offensive line. Okay, Sutton Smith is a special talent for us back there. Braylon Russell's doing a really good job for us back there. And then there's a battle in for the 3rd spot there with Cam and Jasper, young TJ, young Bat. You know, those guys are all battling for. You know, I always tell the skill positions, it's your job to prove to me you belong on the field, and it's my job to find out how to put you on the field then. Okay, so that's what those guys are doing.
Y'all did something interesting with the receiver group in the team tempo period. You kept the veteran guys, Brown and Marshall and Hawkins, with KJ. And I'm wondering the thought process behind that. I mean, I know different guys get reps, but it seemed like you kind of kept them in unison with KJ. And then the pick that AJ threw, Shelton kind of came through Courtney Crutchfield on that play. Mm-hmm. What needed to have happened on that to avoid that pick?
First off, you're going to keep hunting for clues and things that we're doing and hunting as to what's going on. When we're on what we call the 1s and 2s field, those are guys that play for us, and reps go. Same thing in the receiver room. We don't have a starter right now. There's not one guy that goes to bed tonight and says, all right, no matter what I do tomorrow, they're going to put me in the game on the first play, September 5th. Okay? So there's a 9-man battle going on right there with those guys. Okay? So we kind of move them all around, you know. They all play different positions as well, except for Antonio Jordan. AJ plays the X position. Everybody else just lines up in one of the 3 receiver spots and runs it from there. The situation with I need to watch it a little bit on film. I lose sight of it sometimes when I'm behind the offensive line and behind them. AJ tried to squeeze one in. My coaching point over to him the last couple of weeks is, sometimes you got to go on to that next read. If it's a little gray, go on to the next read. Great play by the DB, you know, but Crutch got to continue to come back and chest bump the quarterback, and then I got to watch it a little closer on film because AJ trusts his arm, and that's a good thing, and that's also the thing that gets you in trouble sometimes, you know. He trusts the ability to put the ball where he wants to put the ball, okay? That's a great thing sometimes, and that's also a dangerous thing sometimes. He threw a ball across the middle yesterday on a delta route to Ty Lockwood that I paused when he decided to throw the ball, and I said he's not even close to being open, and somehow he squeezed the ball in between people, a 25-yard gain. Okay, is that a great job, or is that a bad decision? Okay, results are, or is it a good play or not? It depends upon results. I jokingly say to people all the time about myself, I never made a call I didn't like at the time. There's a lot of times I've made calls I didn't like after the play was run. But when I made the call, you know, I loved it. I thought it was the right call to make. Okay, so that's where AJ's got to get to. That's one of the things he's got to do is we talked to him about is make quick decisions. Okay, and sometimes right now after practice too, when he's trying to make quick decisions, sometimes those aren't great decisions. So now he's got to be able to make that quick decision a great decision, and sometimes that means go on to the next read. Or sometimes you got to eat it, throw the ball out of bounds, and see 2nd and 10.
Jaden Platt talked about how in spring he was focusing on losing weight so he could be ready for this season. So where have you just kind of seen him take strides from spring to OTAs to right now?
Yeah, you know what? I think he's taken a lot of pride in the blocking game. Jaden can run around. Jaden can catch the ball. Jaden gives great effort. Jaden, picks up the offense very quickly. There's a lot of things we can do with Platt. One thing I know Coach Morgan's talked to him a lot about becoming a complete football player, and that's a blocking side of it. That's getting involved in the run game side of it. To become a complete tight end. You want to lose weight, yeah, but you don't want to get too small. I mean, he'll play 250, I think, which is a pretty good sized tight end. What I noticed about him since I met him is a change of his body. I honestly can't sit here and tell you what he weighed when I met him to what he weighs right now, but I can tell you he looks different. And to me, that's a compliment to our strength staff, compliment to Coach Franklin, compliment to him for what he did to work, compliment to our nutrition staff, Miss Natalie, in getting him to do that. So he's improved in the run game and the pass game stuff. I feel very confident we can put him in situations to try and get him the ball, and I think the ball will find him as well at times.
And then Jelani Watkins, y'all didn't get to have him in the spring, but you added him. Then you also added Maurice recently, two very fast track athletes. So what's it been like adding guys with that type of speed and other traits to this
They're fast.
room?
They're really fast. You can just watch them run when it's effortlessly how they run, okay? As I told y'all in the springtime, the biggest thing I had to do as a coach, as a coordinator in the springtime was find out what these guys can do, okay? So, the new guys that come on, Jelani, and Lay, we got to find out exactly what Jelani can do, okay? He has a better football skill set, and I stereotyped him as a track athlete, before I watched him truly play football. He has a better football skill set than I thought he would have. He's not just a guy who runs fast. He knows how to run routes. He knows how to get in and out of breaks. He understands coverages. He understands the multiple changing routes that we have, depending upon what's happening over top of him or what's happening in a triangle around him. He understands that better than I thought he would. Okay. Now at the same time, he runs a sub 10, so I better find a way to use that ability. That's my job. Okay. You tell me you run fast. You tell me you can catch the ball. You tell me you have some football savviness about you. Well, then that comes across my desk. I better find a way to put the ball in his hands and let him be a help to us.
Coach, you had Sutton last year at Memphis, and he led you on rushing, but only really averaged, I think, 8-9 carries a game. Is that a range you see for him here, or is that something you want to up maybe his touches now that he's here?
Yeah, sitting here today, what are we, August 6th? Sitting here today, August 6th, I'd like to up that, okay? But it all depends upon how games are going, how situations are going, and all that, Memphis last year, we had a couple guys back there we were getting the ball to, and we shared time heavily there at Memphis. So when you talk about he had 10 carries a game and the other kid had 10 carries a game, and then another kid had 10 carries a game, and then you want to throw the ball 25, 30 times a game, you start running low on plays. Plus you had a quarterback at the other place that you wanted to get 10, 15 carries to. So all of a sudden you start running out of plays unless you can find a way to get 90 plays. Sutton's a guy that in my mind right now is a guy we got to put in space, a guy we got to move around, a guy we got to have ways to get him the ball. Okay, the ball will find you. I said that about Jaden Platt. Sometimes the ball finds you, but then there's guys on a team that you better have plays on the call sheet, a box on the call sheet that they get the ball, and that the young assistant coaches are in my ear saying, "Hey, it's end of the first quarter. So and so has three touches. All right, well, we better get him more touches." Okay, he's one of the guys that falls into that category right now, and the other guys, before you all ask the question, the other guys are all battling to see what happens there. At the same time, if somebody's got a hot hand, if we go in September 5th and Braylon's running the ball well, then better keep feeding the hot hand too.
You've talked a lot about, and Coach Silverfield, just about accuracy, taking care of the football from the quarterbacks. I'm wondering, though, can you put maybe into words just the value of maybe a guy that between AJ and KJ who creates explosive plays and how important that could maybe be in this quarterback competition?
Yeah, that's a huge deal. But sometimes creating the explosive play is just doing the read correctly, and giving the ball to Sutton in open space, giving the ball to Jelani in open space, giving AJ a chance to catch a one-on-one, catch a one-on-one deep ball, give Chris an opportunity. Sometimes those explosive plays are just making you read and taking what the defense gives you, and a 5-yard throw turns into it because you made the right read, you located it well, and that kid stayed on the move. Okay, so to me, that's a big part of it. Explosive plays, is one of our top 5 goals. Okay. It's been a long time since I've cared about stats, but 18th year as a coordinator, there's only 5 stats that matter. How many points we score compared to how many points they score, turnover margin, cash down percentage, efficient percentage, red zone touchdown percentage, and then explosive plays. Okay, those are the only 5 stats that really truly affect whether you win or lose a football game. Okay, everyone says you got to run the ball to do it. Well, guys got an 8-man box, and we ain't going to run the ball very well. We better throw the ball that day. Okay, they won't play cover 2 all day and give you a 5-6-man box. Well, then shoot, we better run the ball that day. So those aren't the stats that matter. The stats that I mentioned are the stats that matter. Okay, so yes, explosive plays are important. Okay, but those explosive plays can be created by the quarterback and design quarterback run stuff. It could be some post-snap stuff, okay, that they do and they can create when they get out of the pocket, or it can just be ABC 1, 2, 3, make your reads and get the ball to the guy in open space and let that athlete be an athlete.
I feel like every time we're out there, we see the offensive line working on, getting outside, moving. I know you guys like your tunnel screens, your swing passes. You think that can be a strength of this unit, maybe just the speed, the quickness, and getting, out in space with the offensive lineman leading the way?
It needs to be. It needs to be. You need to be able to get, I keep saying the same stuff. I hope y'all don't get bored with me, but one of our philosophies is to get the ball to our top players in open space. Okay, these next 20 practices are going to figure out who our actual top players are. Okay, and then the best way to get guys in open space is those plays you talked about. Okay, and it doesn't have to be a running back swinging out of the backfield. We can put anybody we want in the backfield to get him the ball in that spot. But another way is a hard conference to run the football in. Okay, so you better find ways to. Listen, it's going to go down maybe as a passing stat, okay? But in my mind, it's a run. Some of those little swing passes, some of those little tosses out there, some of that stuff, the RPO game, all right? So when people say you're a 50-50 run pass guy, well, 10 years ago, that meant something. Nowadays, it doesn't really mean that much because to me, an RPO throw that we happen to hit a bang 8 across the middle for a 75-yard touchdown pass, that goes down as passing yards and a passing touchdown when in my mind, that's a run play. And in my mind, that clears up the box, So to answer all those questions, yeah, that's a part of the offense that we want to be able to utilize. We want to be able to get guys in space. We want them to blitz. We want those D linemen to put their tails in the air and come get the quarterback and try and get the sack and slow them down,
A minute ago, you said skill guys, it's their job to prove to you that they belong on the field. I know only a couple days in, but any receivers that have helped their case already, just showing that to you?
Yeah, you know what? I like what all the receivers are doing right now. There's about 9 of them battling out for it. Okay, Monte's a guy who wasn't able to go in the spring, who's showing up, and I mean he's a different body type. He's doing a good job, so I'm excited to watch him with pads on. Jelani's a guy again that wasn't there in the springtime. Okay, we were in just helmets today, but he took a little bit of shot. He took a shot one time on a inside seam route, which he read perfectly. Okay, and it might have been the first time he's been hitting a little bit because you can't hit him in the 100-meter dash, So it shook him up a little bit, but it's good to get him back playing football and to see what he can do. CJ made a couple plays in practice one. Chris has made some plays for us. Jamari's made some plays for us across the board. So I think it's hard to say after practice, too, that someone is separating themselves positively. What you try and do as a player is not separate yourself negatively after practice, too. Okay? Because then the pads go on tomorrow. Modern day college camp, we have to take a day off on the 4th day, whatever day of the week that actually is. Okay? Then we come back and we get to go shells for start getting some live stuff, starting to get some guys play football. When you actually do that is when you actually start to separate yourself from the other guys positively.
And in that room, there's only a handful of guys that have returning production from last year. What makes you confident in that group, though, even with those guys that maybe haven't had as much game experience?
We prepare practice as if it's a game, okay? The hardest thing you're going to ever have to do as a coach is try and evaluate what you do in practice is what you're going to do Saturdays in the fall, okay? And to me, going to the quarterback spot, that's going to be the hardest thing. All right, we don't have those guys get hit in practice. We don't have those guys get tackled in practice. Okay, one of the things I challenged AJ on was, can he do the post snap run stuff? Can he be a threat to the defense in the post snap run stuff? And that's hard to tell until people are allowed to tackle him, and we ain't gonna let people tackle him until September 5th. Okay, so that's part of it, But to me, that's all the battle that goes into it, and until we are going to have a great idea because of the way we practice and the situations we put them in and treating it like a game-like situation, okay? But I don't care who you are as a coach. You're lying if you're saying you're going to know exactly how a kid's going to react until you put them on a SEC field in an SEC stadium, game 1, game 2, game 3. That's when you're going to find out who you truly have. We're going to have a great idea going forward, and hopefully we evaluate the right way and they prove us right. Okay, but there's going to be about 7-8 receivers we feel pretty good about going into game 1 that can be in the game for us.
Coach, Arkansas was one of the worst teams in terms of fumbling the ball last year. Memphis was kind of one of the better ones. I'm curious what you've seen as far as ball security from your guys in the first couple of days.
You punched me right in my gut, man. That's all we talk about, man. That's all we talk. It's all we talk about in the meetings. How we start meetings, how we start practice. That's how we yell. That's what we yell in practice. We got the kids yelling. We got the trainers yelling. We got the student training girls that walk around with the water bottles. They yell OTB. That is a pivotal part of the game. Okay, and that's what's going to change, and that's what's going to keep us in and win us football games. Okay. Whatever the numbers were last year, I don't know. But at the other place I was at last year, a turnover was a big part of that game. And that is going to lose us football games if we turn the ball over. So that's all we talk about. That's all we practice. We do ball security every single day. Ball security circuit. I think you guys are there doing the ball security circuit most of the time. Okay. But every single drill we do is a ball security circuit. Every single thing we talk to the quarterbacks is protecting the football. If we don't turn the ball over, Captain Obvious statement, we have a really good chance. We got a much better chance scoring if we don't turn the ball over on the drive than if we do turn the ball over on drives. So we better hold on to the dang ball.
That's one check. You really got the water trainer girls doing that?
OTB, I'm telling you, Razorback Nation, we need to start yelling OTB. Just walking through the offices, just yelling OTB around the offices in the state of Arkansas. OTB means own the ball. Just yell it out. When you drive by the practice field, yell out OTB. Do whatever you got to do. Get shirts on to say OTB on it. Get hats on to say OTB. I'm giving everybody business ideas now. Okay? That's it. That's all we can talk about. That's all we got to talk about. I'm telling you, if we do that, you say it's a little thing, it's the biggest thing we got. But if we can do that, okay, Captain Obvious statement, if we can own the ball, if we can throw and catch, if we can block, if we can execute, everything else is going to take care of itself. Coach Silverfield has sat up here many times and talked about controlling the controllables. Okay, that's something that we can control. Okay, we can't control talent we're playing against. We can't control the noise in the stadium we're playing against. We can't control a lot of things out there. Okay, but we can control ball security. And if we control ball security positively, we're going to put ourselves in a situation. We're going to be in every game. We're going to have an opportunity to win every game. And as Coach Carroll used to say, hang around for 3 quarters and find a way to win in the 4th. And if we own the ball, we got a real good shot at doing that.
If you could pick one thing, I guess, to advance with KJ and one thing to advance with AJ in terms of getting them where you want them to be, what would be those things? What would
KJ's big thing is his accuracy. He's got to be accurate at all times. He cannot have any misses. Okay, AJ's is quick decision making. Like I kind of talked about. Now he's in the mode right now where he's trying to make such quick decisions that sometimes those quick decisions are bad decisions. Okay. That's a natural development. That's a natural learning side of it, okay? Both of them have unbelievably improved in that since I met him in the springtime, since Coach Stewart's been working with him in the springtime. But that's something that is that's been talked about to them, and that's one of each of the things that this is what we need to see. It couldn't be more black and white with them as far as saying this is what we need to see from you. Okay, this is what Coach Silverfield needs to see from you to give me the okay that this is the guy or this is the guy. Okay, ultimately he makes a final decision. He's the head coach of the program. I throw my 2 cents in there. Coach Stewart throws his 2 cents in there. Coach ultimately makes a final decision. So what do they need to show Coach Silverfield? What do they need to prove to Coach Silverfield? That's one of the big things for him. Okay. KJ's accuracy, which has been ultimately improved. Okay. AJ's quick decisions, which have been ultimately improved. 3 times in the past 2 days, those quick decisions have turned into bad decisions. Okay. That's natural developing. Okay. By the end of tomorrow, by the end of the practice on practice 4, those 3 bad decisions need to disappear and the quick decisions need to stay. And that's what they need to do. And they both need to be able to show the ability to lead this team. KJ is a very positive leader, which is great. Does he have the Mamba mentality to get on somebody when they need to? Is there going to be a fear factor from the receiver when KJ comes to lead you? Okay. AJ has that Mamba mentality to lead people, but he does it very quietly. So there's times you got to be loud with that stuff. Okay. But that's the type of leader that we need that position to have. What no one in this program is allowed to say young quarterback, inexperienced quarterback. That's just an excuse for these guys to make mistakes. Okay, they cannot make mistakes if they get named the starter. Okay, so they aren't a young quarterback; they're an SEC quarterback. Okay, and those mistakes cannot happen. Okay, so the leadership that they show on this team and the ability to have guys stand straight up when they talk. Okay. Is also something that we're looking for. I've seen it sometimes. You got to see it every day, though.
Coach, appreciate you.
Appreciate you guys.